our host here on the Signal Network. Next to me is Robert Heske, and he is afraid of nothing. What's up, man?
Hey, afraid of nothing at all tonight. Very comfortable with you on this live stream. Ready to tackle anything that comes our way.
Oh my gosh, who knows? It's been a long week. We didn't have any other content go up this week. You're it. You're our anchor this week. So, and with that, your anchor episode that's coming up this week is reincarnation, which is a really interesting topic, and of course goes back as probably as far as human beings have existed, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know you go to Lilydale sometimes, as I do as well. And I think I've mentioned at Lilydale, which is a spiritualist community of like 40 or 50 psychics and mediums that live there and on campus or on site or in the community. Really, half of them, if you ask, are believe in reincarnation and half don't. And I've had guests. I've had a priest, that saw people stuck souls in his sleep, and he didn't believe in reincarnation. He thought we only had one life. But this
Wow.
this couple that I talked to about reincarnation was the most uncanny, strange reincarnation story I'd heard. And it was really kind of fascinating. It was sweet in a way too, because it's kind of their love story that's been going on through the ages.
I can't wait for everybody to hear that. Remember, everybody, right after the live, you can go ahead and listen to Afraid of Nothing with Robert Heske, and he's tackling reincarnation. So I think I'm going to talk a little bit about this because doing mediumship for a long time, I've noticed that there seems to be a pattern of reincarnation and the idea behind it, where um, in my thought of it when I first started doing everything is my soul, the whole thing, has just done this over and over again, and it'll continue to do that until it reaches some kind of karmic weight or balance or something. Um, but I've done readings now where I've spoken to people who've been on the other side, and they've said things like, and one particular one that I love, this woman I was doing a reading for, her mom was coming through during the reading and said, "Tell my daughter she is raising me." So
Hmm.
I was actively speaking with her on the other side, and then when I said that to her daughter for the reading, she started tearing up and she got very weepy because she said, "I always thought that my baby was my mother. Like the day she was born, I looked at her and I felt like that connection I had with my mom, which was very special."
Wow.
So I I've spoken to another really good friend, Sarah Lemos, who's another medium, and she says that she thinks that like splinters of our soul can be sent back. So perhaps the whole soul isn't reincarnated, but maybe pieces of us that we send to keep company with others, or parts that were unfulfilled in a lifetime before. What do you think?
That's interesting. I so you think like our soul is like many pieces, right? So me right now, my physicality, your physicality, that's one kind of wavelength that we're vibrating on. But really,
Yeah.
our soul, our presence goes way beyond that, right? So it could be you could, and you're saying those other pieces of us and who we are the things that are reincarnated from our past that stay with us.
Yeah. So what if on the other side somewhere there's Robert Heske, the soul that was many other people, and there was something that you didn't fulfill in life, and your soul said, "You know what? I'm going to send a piece back, and this is the piece that really is yearning for this connection," and you send it back to have a part of it, and you're still connected to the source on the other side, whether you call it God, universe, source, whatever it is. Um, maybe that's what's going on here.
Yeah, I wonder if in our dreams we go back, a splinter goes because I always feel like when I dream, like my most active dreams are like after midnight, say like 2 to 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's always like I'm me, I'm in another place, but I don't like the people I'm with, but it seems like a reality that I've been in before. It's kind of like it's almost like this life is better because several times other iterations of lives that I see where none of them are older. I mean, all of them I see to be who I am now. They're like different people, and I don't really like them a lot. Scott, you mentioned you don't if you ever when you become a ghost, you don't want to be in a place where you don't like the other ghosts that you're with. I remember you said that one time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, what if you die somewhere and you're just like stuck with these other jerks? Maybe they're totally not on your like list of people you would hang out with, and now you got to
Yeah.
spend eternity with them in a crummy old house or something.
It's so funny because in my documentary, there was a medium. One of the mediums that he interviewed said that exact same thing at the end. He was near the end of the film. He was like, "My biggest fear is not a death, but when I'm a ghost, what if I don't like the people I'm haunting with? What if I have to stay with these people?" He said almost the exact same thing. So funny.
It's,
Yeah.
I guess since we see that sort of happen in different places, we probably have that thought ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Real quick, I'm going to say hi to some folks in our audience. I want to say hi to PJ Thompson. Of course, we have Silver EK Productions here. Jen Colucci, who joins us every week. Hi, Jen. Wanty's World is here. We have Shelly and Adrian, and let's see who else we got in here. A lot of people. Hi, Tina Ortiz. Nice to see you there, Stephanie. How is everybody doing? As you come in, do us a favor. Make sure you hit the share button. Let everybody know that we're hanging out live like we always do right before our newest episode of Afraid of Nothing. So we're just chatting it up a little bit about reincarnation. Down in the comments, if you have something that you think about reincarnation or you have a question, please ask down below, and we'll just give you our opinion on it. We love to make sure that you guys are included in the conversation.
Yeah. Or even an experience. Who knows? It could be a guest on one of my upcoming podcasts, somebody that has a crazy story about reincarnation. So,
Sure.
you never know.
Yeah, so if or if you all if anybody, I assume that you would want to talk to people who have experiences pretty much anything in the paranormal, right? You like to
Sure.
interview them. So if anybody here has a cool experience that they'd like, or an expertise in something in the paranormal, alien, cryptid, head scratching stuff, get in touch with Robert and let's see if we can get you guys on the podcast so we can talk about you behind your back in public like this.
You could do the ghosts of the Signal Network or something like that, Scott. That'd be a fun thing. Some of the people that follow that have experiences.
That would be a great idea.
So what do you? So that's a thought about reincarnation. So it sounds like you think it is, but maybe like a little bit different, like that medium that you talked to is. So I wonder what a lot of the people that are listening now, what if they believe in reincarnation or not, and maybe they could just say yes, no, or whatever, and you can get a quick poll. But it'd be interesting to see what people think because I thought. I would imagine this group is more of a believer because they're kind of, open-minded. But
Yeah.
I do find a lot of people half do, half don't, and it's so it would be interesting to see what people think.
Yeah, write down in the comments what you think. Yes or no. Believe in reincarnation. Again, I'm a pretty big believer in it. I think that there's bits and pieces of us that need to come back and try again and fulfill something. Just like we always talk about spirits or ghosts being stuck because they have unfinished business. What if that's part of it? You know? So yeah, we have a lot of yeses coming in.
Oh, not a surprise. Yeah, I think I'm with you guys
Yep.
too. It's I mean, there is a sense of I've mentioned it before. It feels like you and I here at this time in all the point of time that ever existed that ever was. It seems like such a weird coincidence that it's like we're conscious now and that we weren't around in some entity somewhere before. So it's kind of blown my mind.
That is something that I have to laugh about, and I'm going to say it in 1 second. But first, I want to say Fish Being in our comments says, as an alien, I have to say, you never catch me. And I love it. I don't ever want to catch you, Fish Being. I want you to be your crazy self out there in the world. Um, so, oh boy, where were we going?
I was talking about in all this point in time that
Oh,
we're here.
yes. So I thought about that. Like the other day I was sitting on the couch and I was watching some TV and I was thinking about like of all the time in the world to ever be alive, like this is our snapshot and this is our chance to view it at this moment in time, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, and all these people that were before us who we never met, they had their chance to do that. And now it's our turn and we'll never know what the next step is from this point of view again. It was just kind of like one of those weird what are those existential moments where I was like, oh geez, this is it, this is your shot, pal.
Yeah, and I've wondered too, like why now, and then all this crazy stuff is going on in the world where, every year there's one day where it's the end times and the rapture is gonna happen or something. I mean, that was just like this past month, right? I forget what day it was, supposed to be the 23rd or whatever. And
Yeah,
nope,
Tuesday.
yeah. So yeah, so it's I mean, now I'm almost wondering if there was a purpose because it seems like something is happening and you need people to make a choice about things. So it's going to be interesting that things that we are witnessing in our lives that others have not could be truly unique and special, and maybe even frightening to some extent too.
Yeah, of course. You know, it's one of those things where if we retain our knowledge from this go around and we go back somewhere, what makes us say like, yeah, I'm gonna go put myself through that again? Like what I wonder what part of our soul like is like, I want to go back to that weird experience and do that again. That was, for some people really miserable. You can see the life that's being led around the world by people, and for some people it's riches and everything in the world. So, and how does that get chosen?
Yeah. Well, maybe they just miss chocolate ice cream or dark chocolate candy or something, and they want to come back and experience it. Who knows, Scott? It's crazy, you know.
I
It's
like that idea because I feel like I've been tricked back here by food quite a few times. It
yeah.
seems to be my favorite thing of the experience here.
See, yeah. Who knows
So,
what people when you talk to people who are on the other side, do they ever mention anything about food or things that they liked on Earth? That are they? Is it there where they're at on the other side, or
do they hide it?
do they? No, do they miss it? Do they say that it's there? Like, do they say,
No.
oh yeah, my favorite. I still, here on the other side, I'm in consciousness, not air, but I still the things I love to do are still things.
Yeah, so whenever I talk to them, it's generally like whatever their most peaceful moments here on Earth were, they sort of make that their heaven on the other side, so to speak. And the only thing they ever really talk about missing is their family members, the people that are still behind, their friends and family, and believe it or not, actually food. It's the one thing that they bring up time and time again. It's the one thing they don't have on the other side. They don't need it. So
What I've also heard from I forgot which guest it was, but like heaven, it was a very popular episode. Like heaven is almost like Earth in that there's a lot of different religions, and you end up where the one you are have the most faith in and believe in. But it's like the whole world where there's like all these different iterations of everything, and heaven is like that. There's different areas of heaven, different corridors, and there's different things of experiences, and you go where you feel comfortable and where you're vibing, and then
yeah,
maybe that's why you get sent back. They like we're sick of you in this part of heaven. You need to go back and experience something else.
get
And come
out
back.
of here. You've been up here for 2,000 years cuddling puppies. It's time for you to go back to Earth and get some more experience. That's all I would do. I'd probably just hang out with all the dogs. So, for people down here in the comments, let me ask this question. Whether you're watching this live or you're on Team Replay, how many of you feel that you have been reincarnated? And if you say yes, just say something along the lines of like, I remember my last life, or like, my soul kind of remembers, or something. Let us know how you feel about that. um i I base a lot of how I feel about reincarnation about how I feel now about my life. And I have to say there are some places in the world where I've landed for the first time, where I've put my feet down on the ground thousands of miles away from this home and said, I feel like I'm home. I feel like I've been here before. I feel like I have knowledge of this place and I'm comfortable, even in some pretty harsh environments. Have you ever had that sort of experience?
I have not, but the guy that one of my sometimes co-host on the Afraid of Nothing podcast, his name is Kyle Carver. He's an actor. He's in a lot of stuff that's on Netflix and things. And he was in the documentary because he had readings that he always felt he grew up in New York, upstate New York, but he always felt kind of like Salem, Massachusetts was always drawing him, and he always had a recognition and a comfort there, even though what he thought the connection was during the Salem witch trials, but he had a very much sense of being drawn to Salem, and he eventually wants to, when he retires, go back and live there. So he had that, and that was part of the documentary. He was like a seeker, and so he talked to a past life regressionist. He talked to one of the witches who did a quick reading and all that stuff. So,
Oh, that's
yeah,
really cool.
I kind of wish I did. I haven't found my other home. I haven't found that yet. I feel like in this life, there's a couple big things I need to get. I don't know. So you may see me. Well, you may mature and go on, and I have to come back. I may come back.
I'll tell you this, I'm never going to be the one to mature first. That's for dang sure. Let's see what we have down here in the comments to our question. So, Violet says, I for sure have. I remember a past life. Um, Mr. Childog, let's see. They said if I knew when I came back I could relieve children suffering more, I would make the return journey. That's beautiful. I love that. PJ says, I've had that experience. I don't know if this is my empathetic person connecting with spirits. Could be. Um, and then Kat says, I feel very drawn to some places that I've never been. I found out since then that I have ancestors from there. Yeah, so that's sort of what I'm talking about. Yeah, like that's that's the way it feels. Like I kn- I know something or I'm familiar with, and maybe it's a part of my DNA memory or maybe it's a part of my soul memory. I'm not sure, but that's a very interesting feeling to me.
Yeah, it could be why people are drawn to places to travel for, to go to a lot of different places. Maybe there's certain places feel very
Yeah.
home, like Ireland or whatever. I think that's a lot of people are drawn to travel and go to a lot of different places because they may not be truly home here. They feel they need to go to other places.
So, what about those of us who stare up at the sky and say, "Boy, I miss home"?
Ah,
Down in the
I
comments, who misses their off-planet home? Let me know down in the comments.
well, I mentioned in a past episode, it might have been the first one, that I always felt like in my body, I always felt like I forget what cartoon it was, but that cartoon character that's inside driving this big robot, and he's the brain inside, but he's not quite, it's not
Yeah,
his physicality, but it's not really where he came from. And a
that's
lot of
Krang
people,
from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Everybody.
yeah, a lot of people feel like they don't belong here, and a lot of reincarnation goes back like 6,000 years, maybe, or that far. But what about
Yeah.
before then? Who were you? Were you reincarnated before then? But were you something else that you're not connecting with in this life? There's a lot of crazy questions that come up about reincarnation.
Yeah, there sure is. Um, let's see. So, if what was the question I wanted to ask? Um, let me think about this for a second. A lot of people are saying that they didn't want to go back to places that they wanted to go back to places that they had been before, um, and they felt like they were home. So I see that there. Let's see. Anything else down here? Me and my shadow say I feel I have different time periods in different areas around the world. Yeah. So, who here in the comments has ever had like a past life regression or a past life reading, and how did you feel about that? So, um, with everything that I do or mediums do or your friend did with the shamanism, have you ever witnessed anybody get like a past life reading or talk to you about that sort of thing before, or have you ever had one?
No, I haven't. My Kyle, that was in the movie. We did go to a past life regressionist, but she was more explaining stuff. You have to go several times to a past life regressionist to kind of get you to go, to kind of be able to go back and experience stuff. So it's kind of not like a one position. So never actually really experienced it. She did share examples of other people past life experiences, and one example was a woman who kept meeting up with a really lousy boyfriend from her past. Like he killed her in one life, he ran over in another life, and she kept connecting with this guy in future lives, and she was always drawn to him, even though it was like at her own peril. So there's a lot of interesting stories about reincarnation. And again, this story tonight is really unique. And the two people, Dr. David Bettenhausen and Carly Fogney Kidd, I think is her name. If you saw them anywhere, you'd think, oh, just normal, nice people. But the profoundness of what they went through and what they experienced late in life, just like the shaman, it wasn't like, woke up like they this was like a veil that lifted up at some point. So it's amazing. You never know who you meet, what experiences they have, and what stories they can share, because some people
No.
that seem small on the outside are crazy talented and spiritual inside, and that's what I try to connect to on the podcast, quite frankly, people like that. So I met you, Kay, and everybody else.
Yeah, that's what we love about your podcast. You really are. You're not afraid to go into different topics and ask different people about their opinions and their experiences, which is super duper special, especially when you're dealing with the kind of things that we do here on the Signal Network. So, let's see. PJ says I've had experience. I always tell myself it's deja vu. So, and I was going to ask that question: how many people feel like deja vu might be just you having a instant memory or your soul recalling something from a past lifetime and giving you that memory again in the moment?
Well, it's like the easy explanation, right? It's like a lot of people that have supernatural experiences and think something happened, then they talk themselves out of it, you know. But in the moment, they feel like unsettled or uncertain. But then they think about it and they rationalize themselves down to, you know, a comfort level again. So deja vu, yeah, there may be some true things about that, but you know, I don't know. I think there might be. It could be, but I think it could be something else.
So there's also the thought, and I think we touched on this a little bit once before, that like you might get a scar on your body
Yeah,
from a past lifetime and then be born with it on this one, or maybe like a fear that you're born
yeah.
with this go around because you died from it the last time. How do you feel about that theory?
You know, I'd like to find out because I'm the older I got, the more claustrophobic I got. And to be honest, like I like this house I'm in now because it's got higher ceilings and stuff. I was in a house where it was a little shorter ceilings before, but I've almost even wondered if I'm claustrophobic, should I have my, you know, should I be cremated or should I be put into a coffin? I mean, should I be let
You're not gonna
be out
care.
into the world or should I be put in a coffin and buried? Will I be freaking out, you know, and wanting to come back, you know, because I'm, you know. So yeah, so I've thought about that on a personal level.
All right, so I'm going to share a story with you. So most of my life, I'm very claustrophobic. Don't like um, being in tight spots. Don't like being pinned down to the ground. None of that stuff. Not comfortable for me at all. Most of my life, which was weird because I trained a lot of martial arts where I ended up on my back and pinned down. So that's even when it was happening, it was part of training. Not comfortable. So about 6 or 7 years ago, I was sitting with a friend of mine who does mediumship, and she had this weird light go off while we were just having a conversation about something. And I remember she like touched my hand and she's like, "You are really afraid of being held down in place." And I was like, "Excuse me? Like,
Yeah.
why would you even say that?" And she's like, "Hold on." And she just did this thing where I know, like, this is where I knew that she was up to something because she was looking back. Um, and she was like, "I'm going to tell you something. It's a little upsetting, but it's going to explain to you why you're so afraid of being pinned down." I was like, "All right." So she said that in a past lifetime, sometime in the early 1900s, that I worked on a farm and I was underneath a tractor trying to repair it. And I was only about 14 or 15 years old or so. And the tractor ended up falling on top of me and pinning me down and killing me. And when she said that, I don't know how to explain this, but it felt like some sort of trauma was just let go. And since that day, I've had no problems. Like, just you could put a couch on top of me, I wouldn't care. Like,
Well, I need to
it
because
cleared it out, which was really interesting.
I
So
wish it hasn't like the only thing it affects me in life is if I'm watching a horror movie, you know, and like one out of every three horror movies, I swear, there's a scene where they're crawling under the ground or they're chased underground and they're skimming through a tunnel to get out or whatever, you know. And that you know, sometimes it freaks me out, sometimes I'm okay with it, but it's like that type of stuff is yeah, I wish I could kind of get over that a little bit, you know, but I mean, I can
no,
control it, but I think being held down. I think when I was a kid, I didn't like it either. My older brothers would try to pin me down and wrestle with me and stuff. I didn't like
man, maybe there's some deep trauma because there's some people that just don't even care. It doesn't phase them, and
it.
I was not one of them. Uh-oh, did I lose you? I'll keep going. Oh, there you are. Let's see. I don't think it matters if you're cremated or not. God can create anything from dust. I'm donating my body as a cadaver for some anatomy class. That's PJ Thompson. All right, good job, PJ. I don't know that I want a bunch of medical students probing around my body, but maybe there's something interesting in there for them to find for science.
Who knows? Maybe you'll live in someone and haunt them, or who knows? Whatever.
Yeah. Well, um, so when it comes down to this whole idea of reincarnation, I'm really all about it. I love the idea that we get an opportunity to do it again because it feels so final when we think about the last day that we're going to have on this earth, and whether we think about it being 50 years from now or tomorrow, it feels final, right? But maybe reincarnation is our way to come back and do better or try to do better or just a way to come back down into this crazy weird video game we live in.
Yeah, yeah. It is. it's comforting, but I mean, it's comforting knowing that you go to someplace else or you get reincarnated and brought back. Some people talk about reincarnation as an alien trick, like they want so they can control us on this plane that we're in, where we keep being shuttled back so they can control and harvest our souls and things like that. You hear a lot of wacky thoughts and things about reincarnation. Have you heard that, Scott? Like it's a way to, reincarnation is just bringing us here and controlling it and harvesting our souls, in that you really.
I've heard a lot of that stuff, and
Okay,
I try not.
Yep.
I try not to laugh at anybody else's beliefs. I don't want to do that or diminish anybody else's thought process. But that's just not one that I think I subscribe to. Although I think that there are things that lurk around the earth that do a pretty good job of holding souls, which is my belief. So I wouldn't want anybody to laugh at me for what my thought is.
So do you believe a person can lose their soul to an entity or someone?
I don't. I don't think you can totally give it up, but I think that if you become so inclined to give up your free will, that it could be taken from you. I mean, that's, people do it to each other every day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, con men and women take advantage of everyday people, right? So if there is a higher power out there that sees that you're spiritually weak, yeah, why couldn't a con man, so to speak, spiritually come into your life and take your soul from you? Right?
Yeah, that's one thing I thought too. There's a story I'll tell another time when we're on this, where when I was making my film with the Ouija board I had, and then something happened when I was sleeping one night. I'll share it another time. It'll be a teaser for maybe the next one. But one of my fears was, did my soul just jump out of me? It was weird. It was like I was worried about that. But
so
that'll be another time we can talk about that.
That's sort of another thing that is a big topic that people talk about. And if anybody's never heard of this, or maybe you haven't, Robert, walk-in, like a walk-in soul. Have you ever heard that term?
No.
So there's an idea out there that at different points in your life, you could have died and not realized it because your soul jumped from the moment of death in your lifetime and just flashed into the exact moment in another universe, basically, and just continue to live. So perhaps when people do pass away in our lives, suddenly they are just jumped into the next space where they're still alive.
Wow. That's a great
episode.
Panel discussion idea. That would be good to talk about. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really interesting thought process. I like it. It's very intriguing. And why not? Why would it? And it kind of makes me think, like, again, reincarnation, this idea of walk-on souls or walk-in souls. Like, is that just something that we're telling ourselves as people so that we feel better about passing? Is it a way to, like, try to make ourselves brave about it? What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I wonder if it makes me think of babies and newborns in the hospital, and they're so open, and I wonder if there's chances where there are walk-in souls into babies, but they're almost like living with them or even taking over their body. I mean, because that's when you're most naive and most open, and so I wonder if that would be a place where that could happen. Not that someone took over my body and I'm someone different, but
yeah, right. So what if you do leave this lifetime immediately and go right into the next one, right? Right. And you don't even see heaven or the other side or whatever. You just skip and right back into a baby, and you're wherever you land is where you land. It's Monopoly. It would be crazy. All right, so Silvery K is telling us that we have about now 1 minute until the premiere of your Afraid of Nothing podcast about reincarnation, where you're going to interview some people who have some really incredible stories. So if you folks are super interested in the idea of reincarnation and want to hear some folks who have had that experience and talk to Robert about it, make sure you're staying right here on the Signal Network for that. And don't forget, this week we're going to be premiering some new episodes of our shows. And you guys are going to have a lot of fun. So, Robert, thanks for being here with us. I appreciate it. And everybody stay tuned because we're going to jump right over and listen to Afraid of Nothing with Robert Heske. All right. Everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. Rob, thanks for taking the time. And we'll see everybody in the episode. See you later, alligators.